So while the static query methods on our Lucid models provide quick and easy query access, we can also build out queries using the actual query builder. Now, the query builder with AdonisJS is built on top of Connect.js. It adds in some additional functionalities, especially around relationships. The query builder also allows you to write insert, update, and delete operations in addition to querying your data from your database. And it also has a raw query builder, which lets you write raw queries in a safe way that will protect you from SQL injection attacks. Now there's two different versions of the query builder. There's the one attached directly to the database module, and then there's also one that you get for each model that you have within your application, referred to as the model query builder. And we already have our model imported, so let's go ahead and start with the model query builder. So we have our query here querying all of our topics as well as a find many. Let's take a look at what these two queries would look like if we were using the query builder. So instead of querying all topics directly off of our model, we can instead build this query using the query builder by doing const topics equals await topic. We can access the model query builder by doing dot query here, and now we have access to the entire query builder for the model. However, if we just stop it here, we now have the equivalent of our topic.all query, and we'll take a look at the results here for that in a second. As for our find many here, we last left off with this querying as no results. So let's go ahead and switch this to actually having results, and then we'll comment this out. And we can rebuild this query by doing const find many equals await topic. Again, we can reach for that dot query to access the query builder. And then we can do a where statement. And there's a couple of different options. We'll take a look at just a basic where statement here first off. Where, and here we're searching for an ID of 1 or 2. So we can specify the column here as ID, specify the value as 1. And then in order to also include the record with the ID of 2, we can do dot or where, and then re-specify ID as a value of 2. So let's go ahead and give this a save. Let's jump into Insomnia and let's execute this query again. So now you can see we have a find many with 2 results, an ID of 1 and an ID of 2, as well as our topic array, which includes all of our topics, which is 1, 2, and 4. So that's how we can rebuild these 2 queries. However, as I mentioned, there's several different ways that we can go about actually building this one particular statement. Let's go ahead and comment this out. We can do const, let's do find many again, equals await topic dot query to get our query builder. And instead of doing a where and then an or where, we can do a single where called wherein, and this accepts the column that we want to search against as the first argument. So let's do ID there. And then it accepts an array of values as the second argument. So we can do an array with our IDs of 1 and 2 there. Let's give that a save, jump back into Insomnia and send this off again. And you can see our find many results here come back the exact same as we had prior with our IDs of 1 and 2. For this particular query statement, if we were specifically looking to replicate find many with the query builder, this wherein statement would be the solution that I would reach for. So for our next query example, let's go ahead and take a look at all of our topics here. Let's say that we want to match for our find many result the topics that have script somewhere within the slug. So that should be JavaScript and TypeScript. If we jump back into our code base here, let's go ahead and comment out our find many. And let's do const find many equals await topic dot query to reach for that query builder again. Then we could do a where statement, and let's specify the slug as the column that we want to search against. And now instead of doing a direct value here, where we would specify that we want to match against a script, if we were to give this a run, let's go ahead and see what this looks like. You'll see that we get back 0 results. And that's because we're doing a strict where statement here. We're saying where the slug equals script, and we don't have any results for that. So if we were to jump back into here and specify a third argument in between our column and our value here, we can say that we want to specify where like script, and now we have access to add in the %sign to designate that we want to match anything that ends with script, or we could do starts with script, or we can do has script somewhere in the string. Now, for our case, both of ours end with script. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So let's give this a save, jump back into Insomnia, send this off. And then you can see we get back both JavaScript and TypeScript as expected. Now, there's also an alternative way that we can go about this one here as well. So we can do const find many equals await topic dot query to get our query builder. And we can do where like, specify the key. And now all that we have to do is specify the like value. So we can do %script to specify anything that ends with the word script. Give that a save, jump back into Insomnia, send this off again, and we get back the same result. In addition to that, there's also where I like, where you can do a case insensitive search. And now to take a step back here for a second on our where statement, whenever you do provide 3 arguments, you have the first argument as the column name, the second argument as the comparison, and then the third argument as the comparison value. Whenever you only provide 2 arguments to the where statement, as we are up here, the comparison will default to an equals check. So it will perform where slug equals script. So 2 arguments, it will default to an equals check. With 3 arguments, you can then provide in what you want that comparison logic to be. So let's say that you want to stack where statements. You want to do multiple and statements. So let's do const find many equals await topic dot query I'm going to break this down into a separate line, and let's do where like slug contains script. To stack an additional where statement to do and where, we can do dot, and then there's a method called and where. In addition to this, you can also just call where again, and that will default to saying and where automatically. Whichever method you end up using is completely up to you. They will both function completely the same. They both act as an additional where statement when stacked upon one another. So we'll go ahead and just do where here. So we do and where, and let's do ID is 2. So what we should expect is for this to just return back JavaScript as the slug contains script, and the ID is 2. So let's give this a run, and our find many is now just returning back JavaScript. Now there's also an alternative way that we can write our where statements. We can nest these inside of a callback function, and what this will essentially do is inside of our SQL, just wrap anything inside of that callback function in parentheses. So what that allows us to do is write and or statements together. So we could do our where like here, and then we can do dot where query, which is our callback method, and then we can just build off of our query statement inside of this callback. So we could do where ID is 2. And this is essentially going to act the exact same as what we just had before, where we had just a where ID of 2, except this additional where statement is now wrapped into parentheses. So let's give this a run real quick. And there we go. We have back just JavaScript there. But in addition to that, we can also chain off of it an additional or where to say ID of 4. And now we should get back both JavaScript and TypeScript as we do here, because it's wrapping everything inside of this callback function for our SQL inside of parentheses. So essentially the underlying query that we're running here is where slug ends with script and where ID is 2 or 4. Obviously for this specific query, there's much cleaner ways that we can go about it, but this gives you an idea of how you can go about nesting your queries to add in additional and or statements on top of one another.